Good morning and thank you for joining us on TMI, the continuation on news and current affairs program, reaching you live from our Lagos Network studio. I am Patricia Uremu Gabriels. I mean, it's a Monday morning and it's raining here in Lagos. I don't know what's happening in Benin. Okay, today we'll be looking at the return of the suspended governor of Rivers State, Sim Fubara. And, to discuss this with me, I'm not going to be doing this alone because it's not going to be enjoyable if I do it alone. I have a fantastic guest here seated with me, and I have a Zoom guest. Okay, so let me quickly introduce the guest that is in the house. I have Mr. Chris Ososa. Mr. Chris Ososa is a public speaker and a political analyst. Mr. Chris, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. I know it's raining. Thank you
for
being able to make it. It's actually raining out there.
I actually fought through the weather and the traffic.
Thank you so much.
Here.
Okay, so we're going to go straight to Zoom to have our Zoom guest introduced. Okay, so our Zoom guest is Chief Gordy Ofose. He is a publisher and editor-in-chief of a leading newspaper here in Nigeria. Chief Ofose, if you can hear us, good morning. Okay. All right. We're going to be going straight to Rivers State, Mr. Chris. Okay. Let me just read through what's going on in Rivers State right now. The Rivers State governor returned to Port Harcourt following the end of 6-month state of emergency declared by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He arrived at the international airport where he was welcomed by a large crowd of supporters who had gathered at the VIP wing in anticipation of his arrival. So, Mr. Chris.
All right.
Anyway, let me just go straight to the question. How significant is Governor Fubara's return for the Rivers politics?
Okay. At first I was going to say Rivers, we always go by the name the Rivers of Blood. All right, but in politics. Okay, the significance of Fubara returning to power is victory for democracy. That's the simplest way to put it. That does not really mean that democracy was undermined in the first place. Okay. It's just because state of emergency is part of the democratic process, but how it applies was what was debatable. All right, but fine, all of that is over now, is back, and then democracy, full democratic structure in Rivers State is back, from local government to House of Assembly, and then to the seat of the governor. So Rivers is set to go.
Well, like you said, you talked about the state of emergency, the way it was applied. So I'm going to ask you a question. Was it necessary, that state of emergency that was declared for the past 6 months? Was it really necessary? Was there a need for it?
I would say categorically there was an imperative need for that state of emergency. Number one, the truth is, it was actually to Fubara's advantage, because Fubara was on the verge of being impeached. The Supreme Court had recognized the leadership of the majority of the House that was against Fubara, all right? So they had the numbers to impeach him, and he had committed enough offense in office to be impeached. Like, he presented a budget to the wrong side of the House of Assembly, all right? And then he had started spending on that budget, so which is illegal. All right, outrightly illegal. So it's an impeachable offense. Okay. So they had that, and we're going to maximize on that to legally impeach him. Okay. So it was on the verge of leaving. All right. Of course, yes, it would have been very chaotic. All right, if that had happened, there would have been a lot of, melee fighting, and then all hell would have broken loose. Actually, but legally speaking, it was almost gone. So the state of emergency helped Fubara to stay in office. And of course, yeah, we saw before then too, before the eventual declaration of state of emergency, oil power were beginning to be blown. In Rivers, oil power were blown in Rivers. Bayelsa was also responding. And before then, Fubara had said about his brother in Bayelsa, that's Diri. Okay, so it was a coordinated effort to try to frustrate the federal government. And then, it was a way for them to be able to negotiate in power. All right, so pipeline were already blowing. 2 had gone. So when the federal government wait for more to go, and then Nigeria losing thousands in dollars, I mean, that would have been That would have been horrible.
Chris,
so
I'm going to take you.
What they needed to do
Let me take you up on that. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people had said that there was no reason for the state of emergency in Rivers State. Okay, because I mean, if you look at it, there were no deaths in Rivers State. We have other states that we have expected a state of emergency. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Up there in the north, there are killings going on every day, constantly. Yet the federal government has not declared the state of emergency. So a lot of Nigerians are saying there was peace in Rivers State.
Well, when you talk about death, yeah, I understand that, but there was economic bleeding. And Nigeria at the time could not afford that. Because, of course, yes, what comes from Rivers, Bayelsa, in terms of oil deposits of the nation, we could not afford to joke with that. And we already see that was already threatened, massively threatened. So the nation could not afford such economic sabotage. There was no way Nigeria could have survived it. So the president needed to take responsibility to prevent, the load of that was already looming. All right. So he acted in a way, because if they had not blown any of the pipelines, okay, we could have said there was no need to have done that. But we've seen that pipelines were already being blown in Rivers, pipelines were blown in Bayelsa, and then it could go on and on. So it really does not have to wait for everything to be down before taking action. So it needs to prevent that from happening. We've already seen the direction was going, and there was a need to save the nation economically. And if you're talking about death, all right, yeah, practically there were deaths in some other states in terms of insurgency and then terrorism, banditry, and all of that. But yet, even the economic death that was coming will also lead to many deaths too eventually. Okay, so it is about the death and economic sabotage. I'm not prioritizing economic sabotage over the killings in the north and all of that.
I was going to ask you
that. Yeah, I'm not doing that actually. But what I'm saying, they are just two different games. Okay, two different games. But it was important for the president to the easiest to have been savage was economic sabotage. So that had to be done on the spot. And then for the killings, well, the military are working and then they are gaining some kind of victory, not as much as we would have wanted anyway, because losing a life, a soul, is one too many. Okay, not talk of the drones that we're having of innocent Nigerians, innocent defense Nigerians being killed. All right, so yeah. So I would have agreed to state of emergency too in the north and all of that to prevent that kind of killing. But that is not to nullify the state of emergency in Rivers. It was very, very important that was declared.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Okay, let me go to the next question. Rivers State has been marked by tension between Governor Fubara and his predecessor, Nelson Wike. Do you think his return changes the balance of power?
All right. Okay. Let me give you background to that. Politics everywhere in the world naturally is brutal, is dirty. Anywhere in the world, arm twisting, blackmail, betrayal, assassination, and then brutality is not peculiar to Nigeria. So of course, what we have in Nigeria, politics in Nigeria is a jungle. So it's survival of the fittest. All right. And then talking about Fubara Wike, Fubara made the mistake of his life by going on. I'm not saying this to make Wike look bigger than he is.
Okay.
But the truth is, going by his track record, Wike fight like a lion, and then he's proven his record. I mean, being the sole protector of PDP in the days of Buhari, he confronted the Buhari government holding PDP. And when he had to fight PDP, he had PDP, even till date, he's still holding PDP by the jugular. Wike pushed Peter Obi out of PDP. He pushed Atiku out of PDP. So Wike has a track record of brutal fights, brutal war. Fubara has not done any of this. Wike unpicked him from being a civil servant to become a governor. So Fubara did not pass through the school. He didn't pass through the terrain. So he does not really have the experience to have confronted a Wike. Okay, so he went into a heavyweight bout with a Wike, not equipped for it. So he got what he got. You understand? So it was a brutal fight. But fortunately, because the president probably saw ahead and tried to salvage 207 Rivers, so he did what he needed to do. I watched a Wike interview somewhere where he said he was not pleased because he would have wanted, as a politician, would have wanted Fubara impeached, but he was almost being impeached. Yeah. All right, but the return now, I believe both sides, they are calm now and they are good. So it's good for Rivers. It's victory for Rivers people because development was stalled in the state, all right? But now that they are back into full democratic governance, it's good. So I believe, so far, Fubara has shown that is remorseful, in quotes, and then they've settled actually, and then they're working well together now.
Well, I hope they're working well together. But the truth is, how long will Wike hold Rivers State that strong? You know, I mean, he's left. He served his time. Now he should give the time to the person serving now. Okay, he's now a FCT minister. Don't you think he should concentrate with that and leave the governor to do his job?
Well, actually, the way politics work, now from the outside of the field of politics, we can talk all the morality, and that's okay. But politics itself is a game. Now, for you to hold your ground in politics, your base has to be first consolidated. So Wike is a minister in FCT, minister of FCT, all the way up there in Abuja, but his base as a politician that gives him value in the realm of politics is his hold in Rivers. Unfortunately, that's how politics work. So you have to first hold down your base. So for him to survive as a politician, he really needs to hold down his base, and that's what he's doing with Rivers. Okay, so he wants to stay in control in Rivers, but unfortunately, it went at loggerhead with the governor. They are supposed to be aligned on the same path, but we know we can't throw away this issue of Godfather and all of that. Like I said, on the ground, morality is not right. In the eye of the law is not right. But in the game of politics itself, okay, it's just part of the behind the scene that make the politics keep running. If you want to deny the existence of that, you'll be joking, you'll be naive, because it's all part of the package of politics. You know, probably want to call it politicking. That's what it is, okay? So it's a game. So if you're going to get into the game, and the question you want to ask yourself is this: they probably had some talk. I'm not justifying it. Fubara and Wike had some talk before Fubara went forward, and I know how Wike fought. He fought the entire PDP structure in Rivers to impose Fubara. So it was part of the game from the initial. So he understood what the game was. He agreed to certain things. I'm still not saying that was the right thing to have been done, but I'm saying that in the act of politicking, a lot goes into it.
I hope Wike gives him the opportunity to
I think is there something like that
the government
will run?
People of Rivers State to serve them the way they should be served. Anyway, let's quickly take this other question. How do you think the ordinary Rivers people likely to preserve the return of Governor Fubara? Is it going to be a positive thing for them, or they're still going to be seeing the tussle between them, their governor and Nelson Wike?
Well, as we speak right now, there's no tussle anywhere, because Fubara and Wike seems to have aligned. So they are running together now, and then there's peace in Rivers, so there's no tussle. There's no tussle as we speak. And then so what the people need to do is to be peaceful, you know, conduct their business legitimately, and go about their way of life. Just be law-abiding and then flow with it. Because as we speak now, Fubara is back in office. He's not complaining about anything, all right? And then the House have said it should represent the budget and represent the name for commissioners, you know, because the present House leadership of Martin, right, are actually the one recognized by law, by Supreme Court, you know, to administer all of that. So they are demanding of him to represent the budget and then the commissioners, which I think he will oblige to. I mean, by law, he's compelled to do that. And so far, we are seeing the House of Assembly and then the executive, you know, align again, and then there's no animosity as we speak. But I'm very certain behind the scene they will have reached certain arrangements and certain agreements. So hopefully, let's see how they work with the new terms of agreements.
Okay, we're just going to be going on a short break, and we'll be right back. Okay, so that brings me to 2027 elections.
All right.
How can this shape political alliance ahead of the 2027 elections? You know, with all of these suspension, you know, Fubara going on suspension, Wike talking, you know, Wike went overboard by talking, you know, and then Fubara coming back to be the governor of Rivers State.
2027, I think the game there is this. I will not be surprised if Fubara, you know, they come to APC. I will not be surprised. It is highly expected. Highly expected. I will not be surprised. So, but the way things are now in Rivers, because in the last local government election, APC took the day. I think PDP had just about 3 local government or so. So that alone tells you that Rivers State is set to work for the president. And of course, Fubara knows the president saved him, and he said it to himself, actually, and he thanked the president in his speech, in his return to office speech. He appreciated the president, and obviously the president wouldn't have done that as Father Christmas. You understand? He will expect something in return.
Mr. Chris, you know the game a lot. I mean,
he will expect
are you a
something in
politician? Because I know you're a political analyst.
Yeah,
so
I've been in this game for over 20 years.
Yes, you should be able to analyze properly.
So the president gave that to him and wants something back in return. So now what the platform now in Rivers State is Fubara and Wike working for President Tinubu in 2027. And that way the state will have been captured by President Tinubu. So that is why the president really has to caution Wike not to offend Fubara supporters, all right, and still not embarrass Wike. So that way the two camps will work together and they work for him in 2027.
So do you think the governor still has trust of the people?
Well,
because I mean, some people would have been saying he probably wouldn't have come back, you know. Because a lot of Nigerians say that if he comes back, he's going to be a boy to Wike. So, you know, do you think he still has the support of the people? Or how do you think he can regain the trust of his people?
You see, the dynamism of politics. You know, the people, ordinarily, on the surface of democracy, the people's votes and then the people, where the people stand and all of that. But you see, in the real heart of politicking, what influenced the direction, the voting pattern, is the politic in itself. All right? So, yeah, some people might feel like, it's back here as a Wike's boy and all of that. Yeah, some might not feel too happy about it. But the fact is, a large percentage of the supporters are happy that he's back in power. They will have felt bad. And if it was impeached, everyone would not have fallen. The fact that he's back in power will have played some, will have, ameliorated anger here and there. Is still in office. What I thought you should be looking at is if Fubara will be going on second term. But I don't want to discuss that now because that's another deep discussion.
I was going to come to that. No,
okay.
I mean, I was going to come to that. Do you
deep.
think Fubara will be going in for a second term?
Well, do you
think he will be allowed to go in for a second term?
If I understand the politics well, I would think that Fubara will have agreed to shelving the second term. Because if Fubara comes in second term, it's not going to be another ball game. So they probably will allow, because as you speak now, the Wike camp had the advantage of impeaching Fubara legally. Right? But now they're going to shield that for peace to reign. And I think what they want to get in return is for Fubara to go for second term. That is likely, understanding politics and how politics work. That is likely, and it's going to ease out peacefully. That will be the agreement. If it's not like that, then I will question Wike political tactics. For Wike to remain where he should be in the policies of Rivers, he cannot afford to trust Fubara in Fubara's second term. All right. So, but for Fubara to not to be impeached as governor, he will probably have to agree to doing a one term in office and live peacefully without troubling the water. So that way it is win-win for both camps. That's what I expect in terms of politicking. All right. That is not constitutional. There is not constitutionally binding on Fubara. But if you understand the game and he wants to play peacefully, he will probably go with that. That way, he will enjoy his first term and then remain relevant around power. Or it could also be promised something at the federal level. It could be a ministerial slot. It could be something at the federal level. And at the end of the day, it will not be at lost. It may not be the governor. It may not return as governor, but it could be at a higher play. So that way, it's win-win. He might as well go to the Senate. There are options for him. I'm very, very certain they won't want him to just lose out completely. There'll be something in for Fubara if it goes that direction, which I think it might likely go in. Not that it should go in that direction, but if I understand politics very well, that's how they will play it. Fubara might not be given the opportunity to go for second term, but he will not lose out. It will be awesomely compensated. All right, and it will remain relevant in the game.
If you ask me, it's the people of Rivers State that have been suffering all of this.
Obviously, yes.
Development has slowed down there.
Yeah. And
then the sole administrator that came, what do you think he did? Did he do anything significant in Rivers State that you saw for the last 6 months that he stayed?
I am not sure about that, except for the fact that he conducted a peaceful in quotes, local government election, and in terms of spending, not much was done. But in fairness to him, what really stalled development was not the sole administrator, but was a question on the past budgets, because the budget was seen by law to be illegal, because the process that passed the budget was notified by the Supreme Court. So that way, Fubara could not even spend on what was already appropriated by the budget. So that way, that had even stalled development before the enthronement of the sole administrator. So that has caused the problem. So the sole administrator is not a reason, rather was not the reason why there was no development. Okay, it was because the past law budget was faulty. So that caused the problem. But the long short of it all was that the Rivers people suffer the brunt of it.
They do.
You know, like they say, where two elephants fight, the grass will suffer.
Yes, they really, really did suffer.
And they suffered, yeah.
I'm just asking and hoping that there will be peace in Rivers State between Fubara and Nelson Wike, so there will be some development in Rivers State.
Yeah.
Anyway, so looking forward, do you see Governor Fubara consolidating power?
Yes. I'm sorry I'm sounding like this, because some of the things I'm saying here are not really said in the open. I think it's been given this margin. It won't go beyond the margin is given.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't go beyond the margin is given, because
so you're saying he's not fully in control of the state?
Well, it's recognized by law as a governor. Is one in seat as governor, so by law is the governor. Yes, I'm just trying to be open
saying
here.
By law and by the public eyes, he's the governor of Rivers State.
But by politicking,
he's not totally in control.
Obviously, but it's about power contest, because Wike will be stupid to allow him have all of the power, and that means it will ground Wike. And this is game. It's not just peculiar to Nigeria; it happens everywhere in the world, even in the almighty US. All right. So there are godfathers behind the scene that influences how politics is being played
let me
so it's not peculiar to Nigeria.
Yes,
we must get that right.
Let's go.
It's a game of politics.
To Nigeria, it's a game of politics.
Yeah.
There's always behind the scene. But back home here, especially in Rivers State, since we're talking about Rivers State, there's no behind the scene.
There is behind the scene.
There's no behind the scene, because Wike has made sure he brought it to the public.
Yeah.
So we do not have behind the scene anymore in Rivers State. What we're seeing in Rivers State is the public view. Wike showing, I am the owner of Rivers State. Rivers State belongs to me. I dictate what will happen in Rivers State.
Well, unfortunately, that game was a behind-the-scene script. But because it's peeled, so what was behind the scene became public. It came forth on the public, table. And of course, yes. So we now have what is behind the scene on the public platform. But what has happened now, because there is now some measure of peace in Rivers State, so the real control of Rivers State has gone back behind the scene. But we already we know what behind the scene is.
I have just been told that my time is up. But before we go, quickly, let's move to Cameroon, since we're talking politics. I do not understand the politics played in Africa. Paul Biya, the daughter, is asking the Cameroonians not to vote for him. Quickly, 1 second.
Paul Biya is just a despotic leader, and then it's a shame to Africa. This man is 92 years old. He's been in power for 41 years. Got in power in 1982. What's he looking for? Obviously, he's not serving. He's 92 years old. He's not. I don't want to use the word complete, because I don't sound
health and
insensitive to old people. But of course, he's not fit for office. He's been there for 41 years. What is he still looking for? Cameroonians don't have guts. They should push this guy out.
Okay, thank you so much.
It's a shame to Africa. It's a shame to leadership.
Thank you, Chris, for coming on today's show. We hope to have you next time. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My name is Patricia Uremugebius. We sign out from Lagos.